Welcome to the Circle Star Firearms and Outdoors podcast, your home for the latest products and news in the shooting sports, hunting, and the great outdoors. And now, here are your hosts, Jake Cawthon and Jason Westmoreland.
Hey everybody, it is Jake and Jason here from Circle Star Firearms and Outdoors.
Coming at you from another wonderful podcast, having a lot of fun. Here's the best part about it so far. We're getting to the point now, we're starting to get a little bit of the feedback. We're starting to get some comments, especially, I don't know why, I know why, but the YouTube interaction I think's neat. There's people from all over the world sending us messages. Hey, we like this.
It's killer.
They're asking more questions about it. Especially of our hunting stories and stuff like that. And that's what you have to realize. This started. I don't want to say we're going to be like Google, but we started in a garage like Google, and so
all the good companies start in their garage.
They do. I read an article. It was several years ago. That majority of your major companies you can think of, your icons, Apple, Microsoft, Google, stuff like that, started from either like a kitchen table or a garage, a space that you already had
that idea, owned. The passion, the dream, you were hungry. And
do you know who is the number one financier of small businesses?
Who's that? Somebody on Shark Tank?
No. It's one thing, but it's two companies, if you want to think of it this way. The number one financier of small businesses nationwide, Visa and MasterCard. People took a gamble. They put everything on a credit card. Yeah, put a couple $1,000 on a credit card. Took a shot. I mean, that's what I did years ago. I still remember my wife was super stressed out. We sold our first $1,000 gun, and we didn't have $1,000. We were young, had young kids. She's like, "What happens if he doesn't show up?" I'm like, "It's going to be fine. It's a gun. We'll sell it." And sure enough, he showed up, paid off the credit card real fast, and all was well.
Oh, I remember the first thermal. That was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was.
You were not happy.
I like.
Hey, it's cool. I got 30 days.
Yeah, we got 30 days to sell this thing.
That's all I need. 30 days, I'll find somebody. So,
and now we're selling, 30 a week.
So. Oh, yeah. And but back to it, how something so simple and such a basic idea of like, hey, I'm going to start this business. I have this dream. It's the American dream. And now we get people that are commenting on our stuff or sending us messages from around the world. Hey guys, that was awesome. That was a funny story. Or hey, I got something that's similar and they want to share it with us.
Well, that's what I was excited about. I got these numbers I printed off earlier.
I'm surprised you can read.
Right? Well, this is what blew my mind. So, of course, 97% of the people listening are from the U.S.
That makes sense. I mean, we're in the U.S.
We talk a lot about, hunting the U.S., stuff like that. But, dude, we got listeners in the U.K., Canada, India, Germany, France, Pakistan, Australia, Turkey, Israel, like all over.
Ooh, who's the people in Turkey? We need to make some friends there.
Oh, yeah.
Start importing some
stuff.
We have
16 people there, sir, that are listening to the podcast.
Big time.
I dig it. Well, thanks everybody all around the world for listening to our little podcast.
And if you are listening to us on the podcast and you are outside the U.S., send us an email.
Yeah.
It's it's pretty simple. Jake at CircleStarFirearms.com or Jason at CircleStarFirearms.com.
Easy enough to get us.
And let us know, how did you find out about us? What brings you to our show? Because we know we're not really an international company, but there's something about it, and maybe we can tailor the show a little more to you. Maybe we can push a little product that way. It'd be cool to see someone rocking some Circle Star gear walking around, I don't know, the Vatican
Israel
or somewhere cool, right? Either Ukraine, something.
That would be cool. I'd like to know how y'all found out about us.
Yeah, if you're out there and you're listening to us, shoot us a message. And
they just Googled American redneck idiots with gun.
Something, right?
They put in the keywords and it popped up.
But if you are outside the U.S. and you are watching or listening or watching us on YouTube, send me a message. I'll send you something cool. I don't know how I mail overseas, but I'll send you something cool. We'll go worldwide.
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Prestige worldwide.
It's prestige worldwide. Can't lead a wine mixer.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and does everybody or who's overseas? They can't get these references we make.
No, and
they're horrible old. We're very dated with our references.
Oh yeah.
So cool. Oh, we want to, while we're thanking listeners, thank all you guys for liking, subscribing, getting to know the show.
It's growing every week.
It is. We actually not yet. but we're setting it up. We've had some sponsors approach us,
Oh yeah,
which is cool,
taking over the world.
right? We've had two pretty big names. So I don't know how that happened, but we're going to run with it, and we'll let y'all know just as soon as that's finalized and that's happening. And
See, that'd be nice if we could get enough sponsorship that we get someone that actually knows what they're doing editing wise. We got Kenny Allen for the audio, and I will give him this. The episode, and I knew where it was. I listened for it. How he stitched back the audio mess up on the bear story or the gorilla story.
poor gorilla story.
Dude, he did such a good job. So we got an audio guy, but we need a good like video editor. Put like explosions and stuff behind us.
It was the best story ever. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We get the green screen.
Oh yeah, we were listening to it in the car, the gorilla story, and my family was rolling laughing.
I've told so many people. And if you haven't heard it, go to part 2 of the episode with Frank Baird, B&B Taxidermy. And yeah, it's a little over halfway through, and it is one of the funniest stories.
Dude, I can't
Outdoors
imagine
hunting,
that
any
guy.
of it. Oh, my God.
I'm kind of like the guy that it happened
I'd
to.
never go back in the woods.
Never. Nope. You know where I'm safe? Downtown.
Yeah. Yeah. He has a legitimate reason not to go back in the woods. But speaking of hunting and exotic things that pop up in Texas, we're going to talk a little bit about exotic hunting in Texas today.
And it's a man. You talk about a wide window because it could be anything.
And it's a big deal. So the reason we have so many exotics here is several fold. But one is, for the most part, unless we just have a brutal winter, they can survive here. We have a pretty temperate climate, and
And a lot of it too. If you look, I don't do a whole lot of. I don't do anything cool, so I just look at stuff on the internet. And I saw a picture the other day that
don't do anything cool. Whatever.
that she took the U.S., but I primarily paid attention to Texas, and what it was overlaid like other countries and other like climates and how they correlate to the U.S.
Right.
That way you get some sort of idea. If I'm going to Japan, Japan's kind of like here, or like for us, we were like a lot of Northern Africa and like a little bit of like for whatever reason, like East Texas was China.
Okay.
And so I think a lot of reason why exotic hunting in Texas is so big outside of our hunting culture is that we actually have enough diverse ecosystems to support it.
Right. They're here, and they've gotten here several ways. Most of them have been imported by exotic game ranches. But as anyone knows who's drove through the hill country, we have a solid low fence or free ranging, or lots of different herds of different species just running around that have managed to get out and survive on their own and repopulate.
Well, because
in tremendous numbers.
What happens to these high fence ranches, and I'm not talking ill about them. If I'm buying some of these animals, as expensive they are, I'm going to protect my investment, right? Because that's what this is. It's hunting for pay. But a tree falls down and knocks out a gap of it, or you get a big rainstorm, and a lot of times these high fences where they'll go through a creek or a river will have these gates, and they're supposed to swing back, but you get a tree or something stuck in the way, and these animals are going to go, oh, look, there's a gap, kind of like a cow does, and just gone.
Or you get a divorce, and she's getting half of it, so you just go cut the fence and let all the animals out and do a push. Not that I know anybody who's ever done that, but I've heard it's happened. Allegedly. So what do we have here? So we could start at the top because literally just about everything here.
So you got the majors, right? And I always, it's kind of tongue in cheek, and I've always joked you can always tell when someone gets a little bit of money. Because the first thing they do, they buy a couple hundred acres, they high fence it, and you buy 3 animals. You get the starter exotics:
The axis,
black buck, and fallow.
And the fallow.
Yep.
And
they're relatively easy to maintain. They're pretty dang hardy. And because they're so prevalent, pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, those are going to be the 3 most people get into. And I'm not going to lie, that sounds awesome. I want to get a little bit of money and get a couple hundred acres.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
All I'm trying to do, guys.
So Axis, originally from India. Beautiful, a little bit larger than most of our whitetail we have around here.
There's more in Texas. This will be a reoccurring theme. There's more axis in Texas than in the wild.
Yeah, which is...
there's more free range axis in Texas than in the wild.
Yeah, and we even got them. Most people here think, when you think of axis, you think of black buck, you think of those, you're thinking more the wild herds running in the hill country or southern Texas, we've got populations running around here with solid herds.
One of my biggest regrets is I was mowing. Hey, this probably was 7 years ago, 6 years ago, and I was just bebop along my little zero turn, doing my thing, and 2 axis does walked across my yard. No gun. Couldn't get to a gun fast enough.
I that's how it's going to happen.
Every time. And for 7 years, I have mowed with a gun. Never seen another one.
3 times I've seen a herd out of my wife's family's ranch, and probably the only 3 times I've ever been there without a gun.
It's like they know.
It is. But every once in a while, I'll get lucky. And I haven't shot. I have shot a low fence access, but not around here. But I have shot some stuff around here that you would not expect.
There's some wild stuff.
There is. You never know when you're sitting in the woods what's going to walk out.
So there is that absolutely true. And I haven't got a chance to do a lot of exotic hunting, but I was involved in a lot of it in my former profession, and that's where a lot of my stories, when we get to that in a bit, will kind of come from. But for us, the chance of finding something just truly bizarre around here actually pretty dang good.
But apparently,
because I put a lot in. There is the exotic wildlife auction in Huntsville that happens every so often.
Yeah.
And so if you want it, it's going to be there.
Yeah. No, I mean, all the way up to freaking Cape Buffalo.
Yeah.
There's
Giraffes.
Everything. I mean, I'm not sure how I would react if I'm sitting in my bow stand. Sun's coming up and a giraffe walks in front of me. My first instinct isn't going to be to shoot it.
See,
it's probably going to be to ride it. I'll be honest.
That's where I'd be at. I'd want to get a little one. You call it a calf, maybe?
Sure.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Baby giraffe. But I'd have to try to train it like I do the dogs, because I'd go get my old school Cadillac, Texas Cadillac, right? Long horns on the hood, and teach it to ride in the back like they do the cows. Imagine just drive around, big old long neck, just out. That'd be awesome.
All good until you go under a bridge.
I have to measure the neck. What's wrong with him? Oh, knocked out, no bridge.
Oh.
Should have ducked.
Let's see.
So, all right, we kind of got off topic. So that's your first 3. Then kind of what do you think some of the more common?
So in Texas, I'm going to say nilgai, especially south.
Very South Texas. I don't know.
It's not probably the most populous. It's probably the most sought after.
It's become, I'd say, over the last 15 years, way more sought after than when I first got to South Texas. You kind of treat them like pigs. They tear fences. They're huge. They're big. They're just destructive, and they just want to shoot them on sight.
Yeah, if you see it, just like pigs. If you see them, shoot them, please.
And then they started getting a little more popular. Now they're pretty pricey.
I think, people got a taste of the meat, and they were like
next level.
Yeah. But if I had to go in populous, I would say probably the aoudad.
Yep, especially in the West Texas.
Yeah, there's a lot of aoudad in the state.
And you're either, and at least for the people I know that have them, you either love or hate them because, once again, because that big horn and everything, they're pretty destructive. I think some of the next stuff, in my opinion, you start seeing people get into the goats, like the mouflon, and
the Lichway.
What's the one that's got the devil horns? The 4-horn goat.
I know what you're talking about.
I don't know what it's called, but I know a lot of people.
We're going to go with devil goat.
That's what I call it.
Yeah.
It's got 2 horns that go up and 2 horns that go down, kind of curve both directions.
Looks like it belongs on a Slayer album cover.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And
fiery eyes.
I think people just get those because they look cool.
They do.
Different.
They do. I've never seen one of those walking around.
I have. There's a place over in Brazos County that's got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What else? I'm trying to think of, sitting out there.
See, I think after the first majors, you start getting in some really specific ones.
Oryx.
The oryx, but that one's highly specific now that the feds got involved. Oh crap, what's it called? Not the Sika. I'll think of it in a second.
Second deer, yeah.
Maybe it is Sika.
Yeah.
Because I know they're pretty controlled just the same. They're big bodied. They kind of look like a red stag, but they got short antlers.
Yeah. I mean, really, there's everything. You never know what's going to walk out.
And here's a weird one. A lot of folks in Texas may not think, but as far as the state of Texas goes, it considers it is an exotic elk.
Elk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one's getting big popular because I've heard it both ways. I'm no biologist by any stretch of the imagination, but I've been told by several different people that I believe and that they know their stuff, that it's not necessarily a Rocky Mountain elk per se. It's a different kind of like subspecies.
I've heard that,
and that's why they're not counting them as game animals. But for whatever reason, Texas are growing monster elk. A 360 to 400 inch wild bull in West Texas is not uncommon.
No, and they are. You think they're expensive in other states?
Oh, dude!
To be able to have a 400 inch, low fence Texas bull on your wall is not an inexpensive feat at all. Either that or you just got lucky.
So
one of the two.
But some of the neat things about the exotic and why I think they're becoming. Ooh, zebra's a big one. A lot of ranchers around here have a zebra.
I've seen. Yep.
Which
that's another.
It's
weird one.
It's freaking delicious, but the weird thing about it is the meat has the moment you cut the hide off and you roll that backstrap
It's not an appealing color.
it's green.
Yeah.
It's got like a green tint to it. You have to get past that. It's not spoiled. It's just the way their meat is, but it is delicious.
Speaking of, a lot of this stuff, the second you get it on the ground, you have to start carving it up because it spoils crazy quick. They bloat and spoil way quicker than native species. And I guess that's true from where they're from too. That's just South Africa, wherever you're hunting them, they
Get to them quick.
Yeah, you got to get to them super quick.
So outside of the stuff that would be endangered, if you can think of an animal that is a game species somewhere, most of them are floating around Texas.
Yeah.
I think some of your I know there's ibex here. Maybe something like your Marco Polos or your like bizarre like super high level rams and stuff.
Yeah. Wow. That'd be wild.
Yeah.
Have that guy walk out.
But I mean, if you think of like plains game Africa, Texas lets you do the dangerous stuff, so you can't hunt lions or the cats, stuff like that, the whole canned hunt thing. But if it exists, especially plains game, like a hooved animal, it's here.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can be very pricey sometimes if you're hunting a high fence, but some of these high fence ranches are freaking huge, just massive.
I mean, there's several that I know about that they run exotic hunts on are 20, 30, 40,000 acres.
And depending on the species, it's definitely not a canned hunt. Like there's some things that are so evasive. Axis, great. They're so spooky. Like they have any inkling that, a predator's around, they're gone.
In an instant.
Yeah.
And the, I like the idea of the exotic hunting in Texas a lot because we have the opportunity year round. And depending on what animal you're hunting, like the perfect example is the axis. They're 6 months different than a whitetail. So a whitetail is hard horned in the fall, early winter, where an axis is hornless. They'll start growing. They'll start re-putting on their antlers in the winter, but right about now, beginning of next month into May, that's when they get hard horned. So if you're looking for trophy type of animals and you don't, holidays get in the way, work gets busy that time of year, kind of like for us, exotic hunting allows you that perfect opportunity to still get in the field, still get to go hunt and enjoy and do a lot of this stuff.
Do it more on your schedule.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the way state of Texas runs things is that because they kind of count it as, I'm going to use big air quotes here, livestock. They're not a game species. There's no, there's a license. The state's going to make its money.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's no season. So you can hunt it 12 months out of the year, whenever's best for the animal, whenever they're in rut, because they will continue to behave just like they're in their native country or wherever they're supposed to be from, but just here local. So you can really get a lot of this throughout the year, which makes it, as far as a sportsman that doesn't have a lot of time for whatever reason,
right,
mighty convenient.
Yep. And right now, this time of year, it's springtime here, and it is pleasant outside. So
I have caught myself every night, probably the last week, sitting under my carport. I've spent the money. They're expensive, but God, they're nice. Those folding chairs. They got the little shock is over the back, it's like a rock.
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
sitting out your driveway in your rocking chair.
Last night, I came home. I was home before my family was.
Just bitching about people driving past your house too fast.
Too damn fast. Getting on my grass.
Get off my lawn.
But the new Ducks Unlimited magazine came out yesterday, and it showed up in the mail. I was like, man, it's nice. I went over, poured me a little whiskey glass. My wife gave me a hard time because I'm on my carport reading the magazine, just rocking in my easy lawn chair. She's like, "Oh my God, you got old."
I love it.
Love it. I'm so happy.
It's my favorite thing. My wife and I, we have rocking chairs on the front porch, and we'll sit there and we hang out. I'll, abuse a banjo, and she'll actually play and sing a guitar. And the kid, he does his thing, runs around. It's so cool. It's one of the cool things about living in the country. You can just do that and just watch the sunset. And it's one of my favorite things too.
But it makes it perfect because we can come out, and if you wanted to go hunt and it's not super cold, it's not super hot. I mean, you have these times, right? Right now, realistically, if you ever wanted a big axis in velvet, you could probably go find that. There's probably some that are hard-horned right now. The goats are everywhere. You go hunt an aoudad. This is the time, realistically, if you were going to hunt an aoudad in West Texas, I'd go now.
Yeah.
Because it's not too cold. It's not too hot. It's perfect. And there's not a whole lot of stuff going on in April.
Yeah, and that's true. Other than hog hunting and like we talked about before, alligators and bullfrogs and whatnot. That's about it.
So,
but it's a great time. And I tell you what, it's the coolest feeling in the world when you're sitting in that rocking chair or something, and hopefully you're staying strapped, but an exotic runs across your front yard.
Never know.
It's season.
It could happen.
It's always season. So it happened to me before. Like you said, it happened to you before with the axis does.
Every once in a while it happens. You just get lucky. And then the other nice thing about the exotic hunts, they're a great way to get a twofer.
Okay.
Because most of these ranches that have exotics are really good at exotic style hunting.
Mm-hmm.
They're not like your traditional deer lease, right? There's a lot of deer leases that will have just free range exotics that just happen to show up, right? But most of these are more think of it like a hunting vacation. So it's a place that they're going to have a nice lodge. You can take your wife with you. She can kind of hang out. Maybe they got a little pampering to it. Like my wife would just be happy sitting there reading a book.
Mm-hmm.
But you go out hunt in the morning, 5-star dinner at night. I mean, they're kind of that next level.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
little bougie. They're nice.
There's some affordable stuff out there that's not as bougie, but most of them you're going to have a little bit of flair to it, and that's I like it.
A lot of people do. It's
Treat it like a vacation.
It is a vacation. It really is. That involves hunting, which that's just as good as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but as far as hunting goes, I mean the door's wide open. All depends kind of what you're doing and what species you're hunting. I mean
you've got everything like you mentioned, the black buck, tiny little guy.
That's something small, 223, 22, 250, tiny. Because I mean, literally, they're what, 80 pounds,
80, 90
pounds?
Yeah,
they're tiny.
They're not huge at all. Their horns make up half of them.
Mm-hmm. But here's a cool fact about those. As a black buck breeds, you can always tell who the dominant buck in it is they're the blackest.
Yep.
The more they breed, the more testosterone they produce, and the more testosterone they produce, the darker they get.
Yeah.
So if you got one that's just coal black, that's your herd buck.
He's your big guy.
It is, and he's typically going to be your biggest, longest horn. He's your best one because he's the girlies like him.
Now talking about the calibers you take them with, the little like that up to. We have some monsters that are notoriously hard to kill. The nilgai.
The nilgai.
It is one of the toughest animals out there, and any PH will tell you that they're tough.
I've heard plenty of people say that. I shot with a 338 Lapua, 4570, 338 Win Mag, some big booming calibers. Because even if you put a good shot on them, they're so big and so robust. Is that they can kind of like hit if you shot a buffalo.
Yeah.
Oh, that's another one in Texas.
Yep, it is.
That they can kind of take that hit, and when they run, they are trucking.
Yeah. So they, like Jake said earlier, that people don't like them, the ranchers, because they'll bust through a fence. They have no problem with that. Once they get on a run, they're not paying attention. So South Texas, what they're at, it is such thick underbrush. They'll go through stuff that you're not going in, no matter how tough and bad you are. You can't. And everyone I know that's ever shot one, so you put 2 rounds in it. no matter what, even if it knocks down for a second, which is very rare, you throw another round in it. No matter what caliber you're shooting with. What's the other really popular one? The 35 Wheelan.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people like to shoot nilgai with those, but they're just tanks. And then everything in between. The Axis that we talked about, probably the most popular one. They're just like deer hunting.
6.5 Creed, 243, 308.
Yeah, exactly. I'm always going to lean towards 308. I think it's the perfect Texas caliber.
I think so.
Until you get into some of the big boys that, like we said, the nilgai and stuff. Those are tanks.
The other one, it's a hard hunt just because a lot of it's the terrain. Maybe stepping up into that 300 Win Mag range or something like that, just because of the distance. Those Aoudad. You think an Aoudad is, they're going to be right here. There you go. They'll disappear quick.
Oh my God, they blend so quick. It was crazy.
They'll just get into some of the most gnarly terrain on a piece of property. Craggy, rocky,
They're
cliff.
crazy to me. They're kind of like a mule deer because you can be staring at the same spot for 20 minutes.
They just visualize.
And there is nothing there. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. And then all of a sudden, like, an eye blinks or a head turns, you're like, oh my God.
So I saw a video yesterday on Instagram. It was the Rocky Mountain, it was whatever, like the Ducks Unlimited and mule deer is, whatever it is.
Okay.
It has this buck and standing there, and you're like, oh, they're about to shoot this buck, right? And I mean, it's probably a 160, 180.
Good deer.
Solid mule deer. But then it pauses. He goes, how many do you see? It's like those ones that there's a snake there, but they're trying to see how fast you can find the snake. And I was like, okay. And I'm just staring at my phone or dog training. I had nothing else to do. And I was like, okay. I think I saw an ear twitch. There's one. Oh, there's another horn. There's two. And by the time I got to two, the video takes the shot. And that buck gets hit, and it kind of recoils around the round hit. And all of a sudden, 20 of them pop up. I'm like,
they were right there the entire time.
I watched it a dozen times, knowing where they're at. Still never found them.
It's wild. They nature's camo, man. You cannot beat it. Yep. So we talked about calibers. Mm-hmm. Then you harvest your animal, and then is the reward. And I love whitetail, venison. We eat more of that than anything. And mule deer are natives. But good Lord, there's some good exotics.
Dude, I eat so much whitetail just because beef got so expensive.
No,
so
God,
we can afford it.
right?
We're starting to turn my kids into Charles Dickens story. Please, sir.
Please, mole. So we love elk. Mm-hmm. One of my favorites. But you start getting
elk
into
is my favorite.
Like a doe axis. Mm-hmm. Oh my Lord,
it's up there.
That I'm gonna go with. That's probably. Don't get me wrong. Nilgai is insanely good.
It's in the top 5.
Very steaky. Delicious. But axis. I'm gonna go with axis on mine. Just melt in your mouth. Delicious. Sweet. It's sweet.
Mm-hmm. So my top. You want to do top 3 or top 5?
Let's do top 3.
Okay.
Because it's going to be hard enough for me to decide.
All right. So for my top 3, I'm going to go elk. Kind of it's rich, it's robust. It's got a lot of flavor without being like gamey or wild.
Yeah.
Because there's some stuff. Like I ate a bobcat one time. I knew I was eating a bobcat. It just tasted like a cat. Like a cat smells. That's the way it tasted. You got to try at some point,
But do you? I've never looked at a cat and been like,
hey,
I wonder what you taste like.
I tell you this, it's not in the top 3, but coyote's actually pretty good.
I am going to absolutely take your word for that. Yeah, that's a note.
All right, so my top 3 is elk, just because the flavor profile for me is just phenomenal. I eat it, take the back straps and just grill it like steak, hamburger meats, the roast, just all around phenomenal. Number 2, I'm right there with you. Axis, got to be one of the best out there. But for me, number 3 is the Scimitar Horned Oryx.
Oh yeah, I should have thrown that in there.
Very similar in the kind of like the Axis kind of flavor wise, but it's different.
It's actually leaner. It cooks so quick.
Yeah, I mean, you're really like if you want like medium rare, how you should cook most wild game, just because there's not a lot of fat to it. It's like, and it's done.
It is done
like, that fast.
And what's funny is everybody you give it to, no matter how short you tell them that,
Yeah.
and they're gonna be like, "Well, I left it on 2 minutes on each side," and
Like,
they're gonna be like,
done.
"Oh, that was tough."
Yeah,
Like,
too far, like 30 seconds.
You did it wrong.
But that one just for how delicious it is, but at the same time, the fact that it is an endangered species, I think adds a certain little flair to it.
Kinda, yeah.
Little kick in the end.
And when he
And-
says it, you got to explain that. You can't just say you're out eating endangered species.
No, I don't. I want them to think that we're so la-ti-da that we got nothing but exotic endangered animal meat.
I was waiting for you talking
Next-
about everything else you're eating. Like,
next thing
you know
is-
what I really like is the taste of human.
Nah, panda.
God, man, Walla bear. Dear God. No,
So the scimitar horned oryx is an endangered species in its native country, which is like Northern Africa. I think it's like Libya up there somewhere.
okay.
If I remember right. But what it is that there is more in captivity in Texas than anywhere in the world.
Yep.
And we have a stable and sustainable breeding population. And so the federal government came in, I don't know, 5-7 years ago.
It's been a wild.
But they
Right.
kind of keep changing what they're thinking they're going to do. But this is where we've heard it for a while. So let's say that you own a range and you've got 10. You've got
Yep.
8 does and 2 bucks or whatever, right? And next year you had 6. You had 6 fawns. Well, that's your carry capacity is a surplus of 6 to your property. So the federal government, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, will give you 6 permits to take 6.
Yeah.
So you can kind of keep your level right. And most of these ranchers are doing a really good job of, okay, this buck is getting old, or this doe is, no longer of fawn bearing age, or she's not producing anymore. So we'll take her out, but leave the young ones that are doing a good job.
You know what's wild about that? So those regulations came in to be. There's really and I forget her name. There's one lady who has pushed this to the absolute hilt about these regulations, and she doesn't want to bred at all. She actually, but also the weirdest thing, doesn't want us to reintroduce any back into their native habitat because they're becoming extinct. They're on the verge of being extinct in the wild, and she wants to get to where. I'm not going to say we exterminate all of them, but she doesn't want any pop. She believes it would be better for them to just not be here at all, anywhere in the world, just be totally extinct.
So anti-hunting.
Then yeah, that's exactly what it is.
It kind of started that way. So when U.S. Fish and Wildlife first announced that they were going to no longer allow any hunting of them, the ranchers were like, well, and I've got 50 on my property. I don't need 50 pets, know. And so, a good oryx runs what, $5,000 or $6,000?
I'm not sure what they are now. That sounds about right.
Let's say $3,000 to $6,000 just for a range, right? So all of a sudden they're like, man, I'm not going to feed these things because they are costly to maintain. All these exotics are because there's some need specific feed.
And they're just like cattle. You can only have so many on this, per acre.
Yeah. So the price plummeted. You could shot a really nice oryx for like $750, $1,000,
Wow.
and they were just decimating them. And then I say decimating, like we're just hunting them because these ranchers are like, hey, I don't need a pet. They're not not like a dog, right? Get rid of them. If cattle prices plummeted, they're going to get rid of cows or whatever it is, whatever your commodity is. And then it was one of the few times like hunters and PETA got in the same page. They're like, stop. Let's rethink this, guys.
Well, that was the same time they started do the whole cut and fence thing. Like, I'm not going to support these animals.
Nope. Bye.
And the great thing is, they can survive out here. Yeah. So,
and they didn't think about the long-term ramifications, which a lot of your anti-hunters don't. That once they were no longer of value for the commodity wise, the ranchers are just going to get rid of them, which is going to put an even bigger strain on the wild herd. Because if we ever needed to, there's enough in Texas, we could start shipping them back to where they need to help with reintroduction or new genetics or whatever the heck we needed to do. But if we get rid of them, the wild population has no chance.
Yeah. They're in such a decline. Yeah, and I wish I had the numbers in front of me. They're so low in the native habitat. It's crazy. And but no, that's a great story too about how hunting is saving a species. because if the hunters wouldn't have, you said, hey, look at what's happening. They're almost all gone, and thanks God Parks and Wildlife hopped back in and said, oh, okay, well, we'll see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. But what's your top 3?
Oh I'm right. I think I'm going to be right there with you. So
Copycat.
No, I'm going to say, well, that's close. Elk, Axis, and Nilgai.
I got you. I get that.
Scimitar's right there though. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Good. Yeah. Good meat. Heck, we just had some here at the store last week, I believe. Mm-hmm. So it was fantastic. Dustin cooked it a hair bit too long, which is super easy to do.
Yeah, it's 35 seconds versus 30.
Yeah. I didn't say
that. And you throw stuff like, and I've had people argue this, like, oh, buffalo is really good. I get it, but I wouldn't quite count it as like as an exotic, but not like they were here.
It's like the most native thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not exotic. Yeah.
I mean, you can go down to the river and dig in the side of it for a while, and you can find bison everywhere here.
Been here a long time.
Yeah, way before us. So yeah, I think that's going to be my 3, and I enjoy them in every way. But my main thing is do the whole meat eater thing. I don't like a lot of stuff on them. I like to get the taste of the meat, and
see, that's one thing I don't understand. A lot of people do. They complain that it's gamey. I like that. I like the fact that when I taste it, I know this is an Axis or an elk or an oryx or this or that.
It's the coffee thing, right? So you pay high dollar for these premium coffee beans that have the flavor from the country they're at, and everything else, and then people just, and I'm not shaming anybody because a lot of people do it. My wife's one. This guy might be one, but put all the other flavors on top of it to where you really, it tastes like a freaking chocolate milkshake or a caramel milkshake, and you lose that original flavor if you put too much in there of it's one thing if you accent it a little bit. So that's going to be me with, just salt, pepper, maybe a little garlic salt.
S&P is the way for me.
Yeah, that's it.
Burnt
but
beef.
it's when you take that piece of meat and you marinate it for 2 days in whatever some type of teriyaki marinade or something. It just kills the flavor of it.
That's true. Except for duck, you got to help duck. Good God, it's bad.
Is a duck hunter admitting that? Oh my God, this is a big deal.
Yeah.
You're the first duck hunter I've ever met that's like, it's because everybody, their argument all the time, well, you just haven't had it cooked right.
Yeah, no, it's
You know what? Everybody who's ever told me that, it's always horrible.
The only ones that I tell you that are actually that I like, wood duck. I don't know why, but I think because they eat a lot of acorns and stuff. Maybe not as much slime and invertebrates, and then regular ducks into tamales. But I'm pretty sure you can turn boot leather into tamale and be like, oh, this sucker's good.
Oh my gosh, tamales.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what's your number one nope? So we listed our top 3. I'm not gonna, because I know mine, and it's the same thing. I've had people tell me it's great. Actually, I'm gonna go 2 because there's 2 that are side by side horrible. One was Aoudad, and I have had people tell me that.
Yeah, I've never had a goat that I was like, this is good.
Any animal, and Javelina is going to be the same way. Any animal I get in within 15 feet and I start gagging.
Oh yeah,
that's going to be a no for me.
So I wonder.
My other's a goat. It's a red leechway. It's pretty much the same thing.
Same thing.
Tough, gross.
Mm-hmm. The Aoudad for sure. I've never had Aoudad. I was like, this is good. And on the Javelina side, I'm with you there. Because a javelina is not a pig. It's close related.
It's a peccary.
It's cousin to a skunk. But I wonder if it'd be different if I didn't smell it first. Like if you just brought me some javelina meat to cook. Because maybe I have like that memory of like you just.
Rule number 1: don't smell it first.
Yeah.
Just eat it.
What? Yeah, I think as far as like the major exotics, what people consider, even though collared peccary or the javelina is a game animal in Texas.
That's weird. Now the whole kill 2 and that's it annually.
Mm-hmm. Can't kill them at night.
Yeah. Yep, a lot of regulations out there. I'm sure everybody's following.
Yeah, I'm with you there. The goats, I've never had one, shot one that I was like, hey, this is delicious.
You just admitted that you ate coyote and bobcat. So I don't know what I'm going to question in your.
I'll try anything once. You know,
How
do you know you don't like it?
I was down. If you never mind, you don't have to try something to know you don't like it.
Maybe.
Okay, we all had wild college experiences, so who knows?
Yeah, true.
But like, I was downstairs with our employees working the floor the other day, and they got in an argument or a discussion about eating possum, armadillo, and raccoon, and they were all speaking with experience, and I was just cool. Y'all
See,
all.
I haven't done the armadillo, possum and coon.
So the only armadillo was 20 years ago, and it was one of the exotic chili competitions. And I had it, and not that I would have said no to begin with, but he's just grinning while I'm eating it, and I'm like, all right, what am I eating? He's like, well, what do you think of it? I think it doesn't matter what it is, you put enough spice in it that it doesn't matter.
It's going to mask the flavor, yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, it's armadillo. I was like, well, cool. I know if I had to eat it, I could.
It's true.
Yeah.
The one I haven't had, and we talked about this episode ago or two, the skunk. I'd give that a try.
Man, you go out there, skin it, clean it up. I've got a feeling, you got to be good to be able to clean that to where you don't rupture the scent gland.
Oh, yeah. No, I just backstrap it real fast or something.
I want to go out and film this. I say you do it, and I say we put it on our YouTube channel. And I think everybody else would agree we should make this happen. Jake's going to kill a skunk and skin it and eat it.
Done. We'll make this happen.
Nice. Let's hold him to it
We'll
because he'll forget about this.
No.
Yeah.
We're almost. Have we passed the breeding season yet? I think so.
Aren't they the in Texas anyways the most prevalent carrier of rabies in the state?
Probably.
Yeah. Man, that's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be a good time. I cook it enough; it'd be good.
Sure, cooking it gets rid of rabies. I'm sure. Gets rid of everything.
You get everything hot enough, it's bound to die.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I like the way this is going. This has turned out to be a great podcast because I get to film that.
So how'd Jay get rabies? Well, he held him to a deal.
Yeah, it is good. We've done Dover.
So speaking of hunting stuff,
Yes.
I have my favorite exotic story of yours. But why don't you tell me your favorite exotic story? And I'll tell you one of my funniest.
Okay.
So this one didn't directly, well, it involved me, but not as a hunter. But it was back when, doing the warden thing. Guy calls me up. He's a friend of mine, and he's whispering. He goes, hey, Jake. I got a question. And I could tell he's in the deer blind because he's just like barely whispering into the phone. I go, yeah. And someone calls you whispering, you whisper back. I'm 7 hours from them, but I'm whispering too.
Yeah.
I go, okay.
It's etiquette.
He's like, what's up? He's like, hey. And he's all excited. You hear in his voice. He's just, he's kind of trembling a little bit. He goes, hey, I've got a giraffe at bow range. Can I kill it?
Wow.
And I'm like, well, technical answer is yes. It's an exotic.
But man, you're about to piss off a neighbor.
I said, but I don't know what a giraffe costs, but I do know if they have the money to buy a giraffe.
I do know that a giraffe is, I'm not sure how much it costs, but it's pretty high.
How like what, sir? I told him, I was like, hey, if you've got money to buy a giraffe, he's got money to sue you because you killed it. Because that thing's a pet. He's like, okay, let me think about it. I'll call you back if I kill it. And it apparently wandered off, and he called me the next day. He goes, hey, man, thank you for the advice. I was like, I didn't really do much, but what happened? He goes, so it turns out it's the neighbors. I was like,
Yep.
you don't say. He goes, but because I helped him figure out where his giraffe was, that was his wife's baby. Like, he'd come over and let it pet it and stuff. He goes, since I helped him find it, he's like, I can go hunt on his property now. He's like,
oh my gosh,
I got more hunting access. I was like, that's cool. He's like, yeah, best thing that ever
doing
happened.
the right thing worked out. And why would you want to kill giraffe? I mean, I don't know. It'd make a cooler pet. I think.
Probably give you something to slide down.
Yeah. Wee.
Every time.
Yep. So that's solid.
I know.
No, my favorite happened pretty close to here in Beat Eyes, and it was like it was close. It might have even been opening weekend of bow season, but there was. I'd had a game feeder going, for about 4 months beforehand. I hadn't been in there. I didn't have a a camera up. So I didn't know what I was in for, which I kind of like in some places, not putting a camera up at my stand, just so, especially opening morning, it's like, you never know what's going to walk out.
We've got some friends that they got a big place down, not Bracketville, somewhere down South Texas.
Yeah.
And that's the rule on the range. No trail cameras.
Yeah.
Everything's a surprise.
Dude, I dig that. You never know. You get your heart pumping. So I'm sitting there and have a couple does under the feeder, maybe a little basket rack buck or two. It's still super early.
And nothing to get excited about.
And then I hear what I figure is a really mature buck, because I can hear it sounds like he's rubbing really hard on a tree. Mm-hmm. And as it's coming to me though, and it's getting louder and louder, and I'm like, oh my gosh, all right, this has to be a solid buck. He's probably running a doe to be that loud and aggressive, not snorting or anything, but just freaking loud. So I mean, I'm about trembling, and I'm there, ready, and then it gets so loud, I'm like, all right, it's a pig. It's the only thing it could be.
Yeah.
It's got to be a hog. He's obnoxious. He heard the feeder go off. It might even be a herd of pigs.
Yeah, just breaking brush as they're getting there.
So, I mean, we're talking, I got thick yopons all around me. I got this one little open spot. And I can tell, 50 yards off, 60 yards off. 60 yards off, 50 yards off. Coming in. And once it gets about 20 yards, it's going to pop out, whatever it is. And a 5x5 elk walks out.
Nice. Where did you come from?
And there's just a second there where, and I wish I would have scouted a little bit more at that feeder, because his tracks were all underneath it. Mm-hmm. When I walked in, and with my little headlamp, just kind of glass, I thought it was all hog traps.
Similars.
Yeah. And so I got him, and super stoked. Didn't go very far. Found him. Well, getting to the spot where I was hunting, it was there was a creek in between where I parked, and a pretty good creek, pretty good drop off, where I knew I could get a whitetail out in a couple trips, no problem. An elk was a different story. So I called my buddy Justin, and I called him up, and I'm like, it's 11 o'clock on a Saturday, and I'm like, hey man, I got a really solid 10-point. I need your help to come get him out. And he's like, you can't get a dang deer by yourself. And I was like, man, he's big. All right, I'm on my way. So he shows up, and I believe we did side by side. Help me out. And he gets it across the creek and everything. And he's like,
I'm guessing it didn't fit too well.
So he's like, where's that? Oh, it's just up there. It's just up there. And he gets there, and he sees the rack laying off the ground, and he's like, you son of a bitch. I was like, what? It's a good 10-point. And it wasn't for an elk. It was pretty much a basket rack, but it was
an elk.
That was funny. So he spent the next, until that evening, because we quartered it there, did our due diligence with the carcass, moving it over. Then another buddy, I think it was Sean Pruitt. We went to, he had a whole cleaning facility, really nice. So we spent all day, we processed it right there on the spot. And everybody who helped got, a third of the meat. And nice. Yeah, it was awesome. But that's my favorite, because it was so unexpected. Like, the last thing I ever thought was going to walk out of the woods on me was
an elk right there.
Freaking elk. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this didn't happen to me, but it happened to you, and it's one of my favorite stories.
Is it?
Just because.
So that means it's a bad one.
Not to me, and not to Mel.
Mm-hmm.
So what was this, last year, year before? Something like that.
Yep.
You decided that you always, and since we've known each other, always wanted like a 34-inch axis, just a stud axis to hang up on the wall. And I get it. They're beautiful, cool racks, that spotted
Since I was a little kid,
Yep. And so you go out and y'all hunt.
I hunt my ass off. In the middle of the sun, it's hot.
Yep. And you just, guys got a bunch of animals, but they're not being cooperative. They're animals, right? So bigging up his property, you're not, they can hide. And so you're hunting, and you finally get to, let's say, like, was it last day, next to last day?
It's the last day. It's the last hunt, the last day.
And so you end up shooting a scimitar horned oryx because it was there, and you knew what I've always wanted to shoot one, so you might as well, just block my play.
That's solid call. That's totally why I did it too, because I probably would have gone home empty-handed if it wouldn't have, appeared. And then the whole, really, I just thought, this is number one on Jake's hit list. Yeah, I'm going to kill it.
So this is karma at its finest, an instant karma. So his wife Mel goes, and they're having this wonderful weekend, kind of like we talked about. She hung out at the lodge and just chilled out, relaxed, enjoyed herself. Well, she's hanging out there with the owner of the ranch, and they kind of hit it off, and they're drinking mimosas, having a good time. And the owner's wife says, "Hey, why don't you just go over there? Here's my rifle. If you see something you like, shoot it." And Mel's like, "Okay, sounds like a great time." Because Mel's a good hunter, too, on her own. So she, no camo, no blind, nothing special.
Set in between two round bales.
Yep, two round hay bales in just a chair. Out in the open, no big deal. Like 5 minutes later, how big is that axle?
I think it's 35 and a half.
Yeah, just this gigantic axis walks out. She smokes it.
Center punches the heart. And she hadn't shot a rifle in years before that.
And then just they go pick it up and come back. She's like, "Hey, how hard is this?" She's very nonchalant about it, but like, "It wasn't that hard." Jason's there 5 days just grinding it out. And the best part is, it sits on our wall above our front door, so every day he has to see it.
Butthole.
And I get to tell this story of how he tried to block my number one hit list animal, and karma bit him in the ass instantly.
So, this story keeps developing because...
But there's more.
But there's more. So, that happened, and I show up with the scimitar, horned oryx, the thing Jake wanted most on his list. So he's like, "All right, I got you." So he, behind my back, plans this hunt.
Behind your back, he showed up and goes, "Hey, I make a trade."
No.
I'll trade a hunt for stuff.
You went super secret squirrel.
I did.
And you...
Well, yeah.
Yeah. You made sure I didn't find out about it. And you went and killed a red stag.
I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a monster, but a good one. And delicious. And I didn't throw it on my meat list just because it's pretty much the European elk.
Yeah. And then he goes without telling me. Yeah, for a while.
I wanted to show up with the horn, just put them up on the wall, be like, "Oh, no big deal, NBD."
So fortunately, our some of the people that work here can't keep their mouth shut.
Loose lips sink ships. And this one's sinking to the bottom.
And I found out about it. So I went out.
Same place.
And I'm like, "Hey, I want the biggest critter around here."
Well, because see, here's the thing. Let me interject. The guy that let both of us go, it was the same deal. He didn't care what we killed.
Nope.
And so when I shot mine, I'm sitting off this fence post. I can see it. It's got on my scope. I'm like, "Oh, that sun gun is a monster." It must have been cold outside because he shrunk like come out like a swimming pool. I walked up and enough that both of us looked at each other and were like, "Was there another one we didn't notice?"
Oh.
So yeah, I shot not the one that I meant to shoot, and Jason shows up and shoots the one I was looking for.
Yeah, he's nice. So anyways, I go out a couple weeks after this. He doesn't know that I know about his.
No.
Smoke a good one, especially for Texas. It's not a New Zealand. It's not a 500 inch, but
no, but
it's solid.
It's nice.
It's bigger than Jake's, and that's all that mattered.
That's true.
So I take it to the taxidermist, and yeah. So we're in the middle of our Friday video that we did for 6 years on Facebook every Friday, and I know you've got that red stag there. You're about to pull it out and be like, "Nah." And I kind of opened the can of worms right there, live. I'm like, so before he pulls it out, I'm like,
just all the wind out of my sail.
So I heard you went and had a little hunt. He's like, yeah. Where'd you
So
get
here's
that
the bullshit, right? Is that our guys can't keep their mouth shut with my hunts, but they'll damn sure lock their lips up on your hunts.
Well, because they thought it was the funniest thing
That's the day I figured
ever.
out where their loyalties lie.
It was the funniest thing ever. They knew, like, no, they'll do it for you too. If you came up with a 1-up, that was awesome.
So if you ever come out to the store and start asking about mounts, pretty much one of them will always be a little nicer than the other one, just because that's kind of how we do it. Just not being siblings, it's like sibling rivalry.
If you didn't know Jake and you go hunting with him, he comes off as the nicest guy in the world because he's gonna say,
I am the nicest guy in the world.
Hey, we might only see one animal on this trip, so I'm going to let you shoot first. What he's doing,
No.
no.
Heart of gold.
No.
Heart of
What he's doing
gold.
is you're setting his bar. His minimum benchmark is that animal or better.
That's true.
So he's going to help you kill something in the first day or two, and then he's got the other 4 or 5 days to hunt something bigger.
I'm going to tell you, don't pass on day 1 once you shoot day 5.
Yeah. And I can distinctly remember we were elk hunting, and we thought so. It was a bad range call, which
Very
happens.
hard. It does. It's hunting,
And
especially public.
I thought I shot we thought it was a good hit. There's no reason it shouldn't be. I was dialed in. It wasn't crazy wind. It was only 450 yards, something like that, and which turned out to be not near the yardage that I was called. But anyways, so we're walking to retrieve that animal, and there's 2 elk that are like 315 inches right there, and the one I shot would have been probably about a 350.
It was a solid bull.
And the
God,
guy's
it
like,
was so nice.
Jake, there you go. And he looks at him, he's like, nah, I'll pass.
Yeah.
And he's like, what are you doing?
Because that was the same hunt when we found that
We
that
did.
monster.
What was his name?
Captain Jack.
Captain Jack.
Because
Dude.
his crowns where they the crown's the top one, but where the main beam comes back, they were bladed on both sides. They're like super wide and kind of oblong, so they look like swords. And that's why they call them Captain Jack.
we spotted him and 2 other bulls, but you got to picture this. So we're kind of on a flat hillside, and then there's this huge creek, and then a jump in elevation of probably, I don't know, 600-700 feet, and then there's a timber cut with some greenery in it and stuff. And when we spot those 3 bulls, like all of it, you see these white tips, which is a really good indicator. I mean, just they're
They got
huge.
ivory tips. They're good.
And we hunted that bull really hard. And I thought that last night, I really thought we were going to get him. Either we were going to get him or we were going to die. And we didn't get him, and we almost died. So we had a nice mist coming in. It was about, 15 degrees. Yeah, and we were staying, according to Ish, we were staying until dark. And he's all warm and toasty up there with his equipment. We're just soaking wet, shaking.
Oh, God, I was dying.
Dumb and dumber, like icicled to each other.
But
But
I had a plan. I was trying to
you're
act.
trying to execute it.
Yep.
I love it. So it's all in good fun. We love it. It adds a whole nother element to hunting. If you get to go out and hunt any of the exotics or hunt anything, it's all about either taking a buddy, taking a kid, taking a buddy,
everything.
making the
It's the
memories.
memories.
And then we have this type of stuff to talk about. Remember that time? And it's wholesome. It's fun.
I mean, it's what I do with my kids now.
Yeah.
They'll never remember a gift, a tangible thing I buy them, but they'll always remember that time we did something.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's all.
You can't take memories.
Kids don't.
Can't take them away.
Kids don't care about money. They don't. Kids don't know if you're poor.
No.
But you know what? Kids know if you spend time with them.
Exactly.
And yep, that's where it's at.
Speaking about time, this one's just about done.
Well, cool. Well, everybody, thank y'all so much for listening to us tell our stories, talk about Texas exotics.
If you've got any and you're around the area, come by, tell us, show it.
Yeah.
Heck, if you got photos or a little video of the hunt or something, come by, share it with
Only
us.
thing we like
love
more
it.
than telling our hunting stories is listening to other people's.
Absolutely.
For real.
Because there's a lot of stuff we won't get to hunt, just unfortunately, but we can live vicariously.
Yep. Yeah. Speaking of that, real quick before we go, you see the picture Frank Baird sent us?
I knew it's back to why I want to hunt one of these things. I want to hunt a leopard in Africa so bad
It's the only thing because
they're dangerous as hell.
that's it.
So we went to a dinner party a couple years ago with some PHs, and I think we talked about this with Frank.
Professional hunters.
Yeah, where they, like what's the scariest thing to hunt, like a lion or a rhino or something? Like, no, it's the leopard because all those other animals will come out and just focus on one person. A leopard's going to get everybody, right? And Frank's like, you're not joking. I know more people got messed up by a leopard hunt than anything. And he got this guy to finally send some photos because he's been 2 weeks in an African hospital because they shot this leopard and it got in the brush and they go over to try to put it down. Right, it's injured. You do the humane thing, and it leaped out,
The leopard had different ideas.
bounced off several other people, and then just filleted his whole head. I mean, it's a wound that's probably 2 inches wide,
yeah.
probably 1.5 inches
The
deep.
leopard pulled a Doc Holliday. Perhaps I'm not as drunk as you think I am. Went
Exactly.
through and
I mean, but to the
it's
bone,
all the way.
Like, there's no way.
all the way across the top.
There's no way he doesn't have a gouge across his skull.
Yeah, that's. I'd never wear a baseball cap again. Be like, oh, this little thing.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a leopard.
A leopard. It's all right.
I tell you this, though, he's got a permanent part now.
Yep.
But it's neat because, I mean, or it's like the other fellow that lives down the road from here where he got attacked by the bear.
Yeah.
You know, his buddy saved his life. They life flighted him out, but, you know, he's got 2 giant rake scars across his chest. Chick stick scars.
Yep. But yeah. Just as long as it's the getting them part that sucks.
See, don't worry because next month I'm bringing my InReach.
Oh yeah.
And if you get mauled, I hit the SOS button for you. I got you, buddy.
Mm-hmm. Your InReach is going to just be blinking in a pile of bear crap. Yeah, I know how this is going to go down. Well, guys, thank y'all so much for listening. Remember, if you get the opportunity to tell your friends about us, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff.
Tell everybody about us. That's how we grow. That's how we get to do all this fun stuff.
And the more listeners that we get and stuff, we'll like we said, we're going to get sponsors and stuff. We'll be able to go on more and more hunts and have more stories to tell you about.
And also, it helps us suggest, equipment when people come in.
Because we test everything out on these hunts.
We take a lot of there's several people that I really respect their opinion in the industry and hunting wise, and I do recommend a lot of stuff that they recommend. But at the same time, I'm the type of guy that if I'm going to tell you, hey, this is what I recommend, is because this is what I'm doing.
I'm going to have personal experience with it. Absolutely, because the last thing I want to do is send you into the mountains where it's 0 degrees and send you with some equipment that is
subpar,
not going to keep you warm or comfortable.
So.
Well, thanks again, guys. We appreciate everything. If you get a chance, stop by the store, and we will see you next show.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Circle Star Firearms and Outdoors podcast with your hosts Jake Cawthon and Jason Westmoreland. Be sure and subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. New episodes drop every Monday, and catch up in between episodes on the Circle Star Minute every Friday. For more information, visit CircleStarFirearms.com, or better yet, come see our great new store at 6320 Highway 90 in Anderson, Texas. Until next time, safe shooting, folks.